Hey everybody, I'm back with another reaction video. Something that came up on my feed late last night that I thought would be good to kind of react to. Uh, Pretty much the title is what's like the shift in masculinity is scary, and I want to just do a take on this and then talk about it afterwards because it's very interesting. So don't forget to check out Charisma on Command. This is his video, so I want to give him his props. But definitely follow me in the links in the description below for more content. So let's check this out.
Something bad is going on with young men. It's bad for them, and it's bad for the women around them.
I have been feeling and seeing how poorly young men are doing.
Why are men and boys struggling?
Why are men in such crisis?
And what made me really see it is a bit silly, but stick with me here. It was the Amazon Prime show Reacher. Now, if you haven't seen it, Reacher is a show based on the Lee Child novels of the same name. They're action-packed male fantasy fulfillment. And in them, we follow Reacher, the impossibly jacked wanderer who miraculously doesn't go to the gym and eats whatever he wants.
Yeah, that's unrealistic.
How do you eat like that and still look like you do?
Like this.
He kills bad guys, saves the day, and beds a new woman most every book. This is nothing new in the male fantasy fulfillment genre, except there is something that's weirdly new. In the show, Reacher, who is the most assertive, dominant action hero you could ever imagine in your wildest dreams, never initiates anything sexual.
Anna, wash your mouth, boss, you're catching flies.
He's entirely passive with his female leads. We barely even see him look at the leading lady, who inevitably has to make the first, second, and third move before throwing herself at him. Now, this was not the case in the books from the early 2000s. It's an amendment from the 2020 show.
Dude, it just becomes like a fantasy of this guy who every guy wants to be. You want to get the girl in every town you visit, and Jack Reacher fulfills that fantasy.
And just so you know that I'm not exaggerating here, in season 1, after asking him to dance and hanging out in a hotel room with him in her underwear, Roscoe literally has to walk in on Reacher showering to make something happen between them. And she of course leans in for the kiss in case he didn't pick up on her intention. In season 2, Dixon indirectly asks Reacher out at work.
Will you buy me a drink?
I gotta keep working on these reports. Maybe next time.
Yeah.
Then she directly asks him why he didn't do anything about it.
Is that why? Back in the day, you and I never happened. I mean, come on, Reacher. It's not like I didn't drop any hints.
Then she has him play doctor with a wound on her breast, and when he doesn't lean in then, she finally throws herself at him.
You don't have to be lonely tonight.
As the relationship continues, she makes every overt move.
Shot at by hitmen and almost blown up. I mean, to put it mildly, I've got some pent-up tension.
Season 3 is the same exact dance until Duffy finally just leans in and jumps Reacher.
I can still make sure she stays safe. I know it's important to you, so I want to make sure.
Later, Reacher bashfully compliments her, but of course can barely hold eye contact.
If he cheated on you, he's an idiot.
And in the middle of tactical planning for a coming shootout, she completely jumps Reacher's bones.
You really want to make me feel better? I got an idea.
Now, I'm not saying that we should go back to the cardboard cutout female characters with zero agency. The male fantasy genre 50 years ago had its own issues.
Man talk.
What I'm saying is that if Reacher is the updated male fantasy, we need to ask ourselves, what does this fantasy of sexual passivity tell us about young men today? Think about that. Because before I give you my answer, I want to tell you about the male fantasies of my bygone era, the 2000s, and what they told us about my generation. You see, when I was a teen, there was one movie that mirrored the dream of so many young men and their hopes about women. The Girl Next Door. My God, did this movie hook me.
I remember liking that.
Perfect film, in my opinion, at least.
It's the teen fantasy that lit up the early 2000s. The Girl Next Door became an instant cult favorite.
In it, Maddie, who is played by Emile Hirsch, has a stunningly beautiful girl move in next door to him. And when she does, his entire life is turned upside down by her impact on him.
Finding that one thing you really care about. That one special thing that means more to you than anything else in the world.
Now the fantasy, which is specific to the 2000s, is that she sees something in him without him doing anything stereotypically attractive. Maddie gets the girl of his dreams just by being his nerdy, previously unnoticed self. She literally appears next door and just likes him. This was, of course, my fantasy and the wish of many mathletes across the world.
I'm all wet. Can I come in?
But even though Maddie is smaller and nerdier and way less capable, there's one thing he has that Reacher doesn't. He is undeniably attracted to Danielle. His desire for her cannot be hidden or suppressed, and his victory is in acting on that desire despite not being the stereotypical hot guy. In the Act 1 climax, which is such an iconic scene that I wish I could just play it outright, Maddie's at a party, and the jock has just slid up on his girl. Maddie is out.
Man, what's up? Can you come here for a second? Yeah. Oh, no, it's cool. They're pals.
Danielle is now with the jock because, come on, look at that guy. And just as Maddie's about to leave in defeat, something shifts. Maddie acts on his desire, and we get one of the defining shots of my teenage life. Maddie wins because he goes for it. He doesn't do a million push-ups or beat anyone up, he just goes for it. This is the inverse of Reacher, who is super high agency in every action scene.
If you boys knew what's about to happen to you, you'd leave now. So I give you to the count of 3. 1.
But totally passive around women.
Good thing I'm doing the asking. Come on.
Now, of course, this is a teen movie and Reacher's action-based, so maybe it's an unfair comparison. So let's look at an action film from the same 2000s era, Casino Royale.
I need to do a review.
We have the same impossibly capable lead who kills bad guys and gets the girl.
Doesn't bother you killing those people?
So amazing.
I wouldn't be very good at my job if it did.
But in 2006, he of course still wants her. Bond's desire for Vesper is immediate, and he's anything but passive in communicating it.
I'm the money.
Every penny of it.
Yeah.
So, as far as I can remember, in the 2000s, male desire for women still existed in that stereotypical male fantasy genre. Victory came from risking rejection to act on that desire.
That one special thing that means more to you than anything else in the world. And when you find her, you fight for her. You risk it all.
And a capable man could handle rejection without forcing the issue or getting overly flustered. And this is what worries me about Reacher. Desire for women, and if it were gay it doesn't matter, it's desire for sex, for intimacy, for a relationship, it's all gone. Sure, Reacher is a participant, but he's not an active initiator. And by the way, I see the same thing in a lighter form in 2019's Witcher.
They say witches can't feel human emotion. What do you believe in?
Geralt acknowledges his attraction to Yennefer, but it's her initiating at every stage.
But you can't contend with me. Sorry I couldn't be direct. I knew you'd fight it.
Now, perhaps I'm extrapolating based on just one show and I'm reading too much into it. But consider how broader media habits have shifted since the 2000s. It had its serious issues, but TV required you to feel what you wanted. You had to tune in at a particular time to watch your show. You had to select the YouTube video based on a title that said, "This is what I want to watch." Sure, we had the channel surf, but every millennial knows how miserable of an experience that aimless searching was. Now the TikTok mentality is basically, I don't know what I want. Feed me anyway.
What happens when you're just scrolling and you just can't Stop.
Well, social media has essentially taken human connection and turned it into a drug.
The moment you turn it on, it's like playing you a new thing, playing you a new thing. You're like, "Aah!" and you just sucked into it.
And it's not miserable. You can be entertained for hours without once feeling your own desire. So that's the meta landscape that this is occurring in. But there's also what I hear from young men. Up until a few years ago, I had never spoken to a young man who planned to spend his 20s on his business and his money and his health while ignoring dating completely.
As a man, you need to, before you get into any relationship, build your frame as a man, build your internal kingdom.
Staying single put you ahead of everyone. Everyone. Just think about it.
Just go fucking monk mode, everything, like as long as it takes to get to the top.
And that's now something that I've heard repeatedly. And I don't think that's the purely rational monk mode move that it's sometimes framed as. I think it's the result of being raised in a world where feeling your own desires, particularly the sexual and romantic ones, was more dangerous than ever. And in part, that's because rejection in the social media era is so much more public. And perhaps it's in part because the Me Too had a chilling effect, not just on the men that we wanted it to, but also on the young guys who weren't quite sure where the line between healthy romantic initiation and cancellation-worthy boundary crossing was.
I often hear from men that they are now more reluctant to go up to a woman in a bar or whatever. That there's this problem of fear of being falsely accused of something, and so
they chose to just avoid the whole thing altogether. And I think that's where this passive fantasy we see in Reacher comes from. It's the wish that if you're maximally capable, you won't ever have to face rejection from a woman. You'll never have to even initiate, it'll just find you. And that scares me, because we need men who are connected to what and who they want, who are capable of risking their egos to pursue those desires, and who are capable of dusting themselves and their egos off in the face of rejection. If you don't have that, if you can't feel your most raw, instinctual desires, you will spend your whole life as a sheep. You'll chase socially approved stepping stones, telling yourself that one day you'll go after the real thing. So you can make money, sculpt your body, build a social Rolodex, but you do it all in avoidance of the things that you really want. So my advice to you is that if you find any of this compelling, ask yourself, where in my life am I avoiding what I deeply want by telling myself that I need to focus on stepping stones? Is there someone that I'm attracted to, but I won't ask out until I have that six-pack in 6 months or 6 years? Is there a business that I want to start, but I won't begin until I have the right made-up credential? Is there a creative project that I haven't shared because I'm not yet perfect enough at that thing? And if something comes up, my advice is to go for it. Risk rejection, especially in a world where everyone else is distracted with imaginary stepping stones. The person who can risk rejection and pursue their deepest desires is the one who winds up leading. Now for me, skipping stepping stones meant that I had to take a good hard look at my social life.
All right, I think that's enough. Yeah. Hey, what's up, Luffy? Yeah. Honestly, yeah, that's exactly, I've been talking about like at least like a while now that I think because after the whole situation with the Me Too era, it just like we end up learning the wrong lessons from all that. And Hollywood especially learned the wrong lessons from that, because now that, yeah, sure, in its purest form is meant to go after those sick individuals that abuse their power on naive young actors and actresses, or just not even just actors, but just in business in general, or whatever the case may be. But then it's just kind of, a lot of bad faith individuals behind the Me Too movement kind of like got into certain spaces and just like took it too far. Now it's like, now we're watching it in our film and our TV, where it's like because I brought this up, when was the last time we actually saw something on TV or a movie where the guy took the initiative and went in for the kiss? Because honestly, I think it's prior to 2020. Because I scarcely remember any film or TV where the guy just risked it all, like the guy said, like risked it all and went in for the kiss. Because guys, in general, are the initiators. But now it's kind of like, oh, we got to give the power to the woman and have her be the initiator. And that is a false narrative you putting out in the world, because women in general want the guy to take the initiative, because that is a lot more attractive to them, because it shows confidence, which is very attractive to women. But nowadays, it's like so many people, famous or not, getting in trouble for the most minute things because they don't want to come off as creepy. If a guys, because why would a guy want to risk potentially going to prison, or at the very least have his reputation completely ruined over something that back in the day would have shown like some initiative and would have been labeled as well, not even a good or bad thing. It's just a thing that guys would typically do. Now, of course, a girl could reject that and the guy back wave, that'll be it. But then you get certain girls who are impressionable seeing all this stuff and getting bad faith individuals in their ear saying like, oh, he leaning in for a kiss and you it was like, oh, you wasn't with it, oh, he call the cops on him or something like that. Like, no, you wasn't with it, because it's not like back in the day in like the 90s or in the early 2000s that a guy tried to lean in for a kiss, girl back away, said no, okay, fine, let it be that. She didn't need to go through this whole news parade or call up like all this police or getting her family involved, saying like, oh yeah, he because sometimes you got to cross certain boundaries in order to see if there's some kind of give and take. Sometimes a girl can just let it be. Back in the day, it's like, I didn't want it, he backed off respectfully and wasn't a big deal. He might sit in his feelings a little bit because he got rejected, but by and large he would have gotten over it, and the girl wouldn't make a federal case out of it. Now, too many women, not all, but there's too many women out there in the world that kind of took it too far and just could not just say like, hey, I didn't want it, but I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. But now too many women out there second guessing themselves like, oh no, maybe he didn't respect my boundaries, blah blah blah. Having them second guessing. It's like, no, it was just probably a bad date, or it's just bad sex, or it's just take the L. Like, I had a one night stand and like it's like, at the end of the day, probably didn't I got a little tipsy and my inhibitions kind of got the best of me. I had a one night stand. I don't plan on seeing this guy any further than that. Take the L, move on with your life. You don't have to call the guy back or whatever. Or do your, both of y'all do your walk of shame and move the heck on. Not a big deal. More often than not, that was life. Now it's just like, we got men being so passive in these film and TV, where it's like it's not good to have that put out into the world, because it paints a bad narrative of how relationship dynamics should go on. Not saying you should take your entire life lessons so haphazardly based on movie or TV shows, but movie and TV is kind of like art imitating life. And life was man taking initiative when they see a girl that they like and he managed to well, first and foremost, approaching a girl with confidence, introducing himself, whether it's in a bar or a coffee shop or at a theater, whatever the case may be, and say, hey, like, my name is so and so. I saw you across the way. Thought you, very pretty. What am I? Would you mind if I buy you a drink? And initiate some kind of conversation. And the girl is feeling it. She'll be gracious enough to accept the smoothie or a coffee or the Long Island iced tea, whatever, and give the guy a few minutes of his time, and so he can like pitch himself and see if she, is remotely interested to entertain a date. If not, both parties step back into their corners, never have to see each other again. Or if the guy is charismatic enough, she will entertain a date, and then go on the first date with something small and just fill each other out. Guy carrying the conversation and being funny and witty or whatever, and the girl it's like, oh wow, I like his he's kind of smooth, kind of quirky and funny, a little dorky, but it's kind of cute, blah blah blah. And whether it's the first date or the second date or even the third date, guy leans in for a kiss at the end of the night. It's like a 80-20 rule. I'm pretty sure that's like the law of average when it comes to going in for the first kiss. Guy has to be the one to lean in at the very least. And if girl's feeling it, she will be more inclined to like, okay, he's not weird. I had a good time with him. Like, the vibe is there. He's cute enough. Why the heck not? That in general is how it's normally played out. But now it's kind of like the girl has to be the one to take ownership of everything, because, we don't want to look like misogynist or anything like that if we allow the girl to play the passive role, which is normally the role they have, whether it was in film or in life. Normally, that not all the time, but majority of the time, that is the case. Guys are masculine. That means we take risks, we take the initiative, we lead. That is the general rule when it comes to that particular gender. But now it's kind of like you're eroding everything, and you're getting like passive James Bonds or passive Jack Reachers, and gone are the days of that type of, I won't say gone the days, but we got to make a cultural shift now where we got to put in men being men, not a-holes. I do kind of find it funny where like James Bond's like, man talk, slap her on the butt. It was the time, but it's not like the most horrible thing in the world. But yeah, I'm curious to know what you guys think, because I think we need like a good shift in media where guys are allowed to be guys, not like D-heads, but you know what I mean. Whereas like how Pierce Brosnan's James Bond was, or like you see in like a lot of the early 2000s teen films, kind of thing. It's like coming of age stories where guys do what they can to win the heart of the girl that they actively like. We need to come back to that. None of this passive stuff, because that doesn't play out in the real world, because you got to pay to play in a sense, A guy sitting there standing idly by, he's not going to win, he's not going to make any moves if he's standing still. Anyway, I'm curious to know what you guys think, and leave a comment below, and I will see you all later. Probably playing some more of the Expedition 33. So anyway, take care, and I'll see you all soon.